to the DMF podcast, where you're going to get to hear conversations with community leaders, charity spotlights, and information about upcoming DMF events. I'm Whitney Isaacson, and today I got to sit down with Crystal Dunham. Crystal is a licensed clinical counselor at Valley Christian Counseling, and she gets to help her patients find wholeness in their mental health. And today, Crystal shared with me about the dangers of digital addiction and how digital addiction is impacting us. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation with Crystal today. Let's get into it. Well, welcome, Crystal. We have Crystal Dunham here with us, sitting down from Valley Christian Counseling, where they're helping to provide hope and healing and wholeness through Christ-centered services. Crystal, you are a licensed clinical counselor. Can you tell us a little bit about your areas of interest and what you do?
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad to be with you today. As you said, I'm a mental health counselor. I work at Valley Christian Counseling Center, and I spend my days helping those 13 and up try to find wholeness in their mental health. And it is such a privilege to get to walk with people as they choose to live life differently than they hopefully did before they came in.
Yes. Well, thank you for all you do as a counselor. We truly love Valley Christian Counseling and all you guys are doing. So outside of you as a counselor, you guys also do these community education presentations. So tell us about those and why you do those, why you care, and what kind of are your fun favorites?
Yeah, I absolutely love also doing the education piece because I think prevention is so important. In my work in the office, there's a lot of work when there's already a concern that we need to work through. And I celebrate that. And I think that's amazing. And we all are always working on our journey. But what I also love about the education piece is that it's more preventative in nature. Can we get ahead of something in somebody's life by giving them knowledge and education that can help them make choices in their life that will lead them on a path of wellness on the long term?
Yeah, I love that you guys do that because you counselors are you have so many tools and resources, and it's awesome to get you guys out in the community and share that more because we're super excited. We're going to be doing that. We're bringing you in to Dakota Medical Foundation to present on healthy technology use and how it's impacting our brains. So on October 23rd, we're going to be sitting down with you again, and we're super excited to be hosting one of your community education presentations. So along that topic of healthy technology use, we're really excited to dive into it because we're seeing these alarming statistics of youth using about 8.5 to 9 hours of screen time a day. And that is just a scary statistic, and adults are not far from that. So can you speak on how that's impacting our brain with using so much screens?
Absolutely. Our brains were not made to have that kind of input at such a large volume. For centuries and millennia, we never had technology like we do today. And so our brains don't have the capacity to handle that kind of dopamine that we experience when we are watching screens. And it just keeps going up and up, the amount of time that we're spending in front of a screen for work, for enjoyment and entertainment, for staying connected. And our kids and teens especially are spending large amounts of time per day on screens.
So what are you seeing in your practice as a counselor? What works and doesn't work when it comes to technology use? Are you seeing kids coming and they're just withdrawing from life and they're totally plugged into their phones? How do you guys handle technology use and screen use when it comes to your practices as a counselor?
Technology use wasn't something I used to consider a whole lot when I started my practice. I've been a counselor for 11 years. And as the years have gone by, I've learned that needs to be part of the wellness lifestyle that we try to encourage. You know, diet, exercise, sleep are a huge piece of that. And now I start to include boundaries with screen use because that has infiltrated so many aspects of our life and in many ways can take over if we choose not to regulate it.
So what are some of those boundaries that you talk with?
Things like not putting it by your bed at night. that's a hard one. I know I get guilty of it sometimes myself. Right. But trying not to have your phone right by your bed, keeping track of how much screen time you're actually consuming. Most of us underestimate the amount of time we really are online. So keeping good track of it, choosing personal connection rather than digital connection when we can. So rather than just FaceTiming a friend, can you invite them to lunch? Or texting them, can you say, hey, come on over, let's play games or have a game night? Trying to find ways to connect in person rather than through our screens, if possible, would be some of the big ones. And then for our kids, another one that I really try to encourage is when you have homework, put the phone away.
Right.
It can be so distracting when it comes to trying to get your homework done. And we think it should be not a big deal to have it there, but it really hinders the efficiency of students getting their homework done. So putting that aside during your homework time.
Yeah, I've heard that even if your phone is in your room, if it's not near you, you're still distracted because you just know that device is in the room and it's going to be so easy to reach for it. So that is so important with youth as well. So you also talked about dopamine a while ago. So with these boundaries in place, how does that help your dopamine level? Let's talk about dopamine in the brain. What is screen use doing to our brain?
Yeah, so dopamine is a reward pathway neurotransmitter. And so it makes us feel good when we get a dose of that. And it's a normal piece of our brain chemistry and we need it. It's good. The problem is if we get too much of it, our brains are not wired for that. It's meant to be a short-term feel good a little bit and then return to normal baseline levels. However, we are getting continuous, almost, hits of dopamine by the lifestyle that we live, and our brains just aren't made to handle that amount. And so what ends up happening is our body begins to recalibrate almost to that dopamine, and we end up wanting more and more. And so we've even seen that in just how much people are using the amount of screen time. It just keeps going up and up. And it's hard for us to say no, just like Netflix plays a video or a movie or a show and you think, just one more. It's hard to say no because that dopamine wants us to keep coming back for that feel good for a moment.
Right. So would you say we're so filled with dopamine and we have so much screen time, but it's actually making us feel worse as people? With so much dopamine, does that make us like have too much dopamine and then we can't regulate it?
I mean, I'm not an expert in neuroscience by any means, but I would say our brains weren't made to do that, to have that much dopamine. So I would say it's not a good thing. If we can live a more simple life as far as screens go, we can't eliminate them completely. Our world is set up in such a way that we do have access to technology and it's going to stay. But how do we choose to use it in a manageable amount that our bodies are made or can handle? And noticing how our body is functioning would be a really good way to even look at that. Like, do I feel jittery on edge? Do I feel unmotivated? Do I feel sad? And I always gravitate towards that, to those screens. Like, what is my body telling me? Would be an important, I think, thing. And as you were saying, I don't think it's good for us to have that much screen use. I think our bodies aren't made for that. And so we're going to see some ill effects of that if we choose to be connected all the time.
And when we are so connected online, I'm thinking about our kids. It's so superficial, the relationship you have with your phone when you're spending majority of your day on your phone. That's very superficial. So I'm thinking about the impact that has on our social life and our social health. What do you see in your practice with youth that come in and maybe their social life and social skills are lacking?
Yeah, I think the screen use is absolutely changing our social skills and bringing them lower. We are seeing people feel more lonely than ever. Even though we have, quote, the ability to be more connected, we're more lonely. The ability to show our real self is such an illusion because we put out this persona of who I wish I was or I want people to think I am. But the ability to genuinely, deeply connect with people, that's going by the wayside. And that leaves us feeling lonely. Even when we have access to people, the ability to be vulnerable and real is something that we need as people. And so I think that's why earlier I said, if we can connect in person, not just through those screens, because our social connections, we're lonelier than we've ever been.
Yeah.
And that's going to put us at risk of depression, other mental health effects. And so connection is huge when it comes to wellness.
Yeah. There's a statistic that you've shared in your presentations with us before, that youth that spend more than 5 hours on their phones or screens a day are 20% more likely to have suicide ideation than those who spend an hour on screens. So that definitely goes along with the mental health effects of screens really maybe are making us feel worse than better. So going back to the boundaries and the healthy guidelines that you help put it into practice with your clients, what are some of those guidelines?
So the amount of time that we should be spending.
Yes.
Yeah. So certainly young children under 3, we don't want them to have any screens, which I know is a challenge because if you have older siblings, that are watching shows and things like that. But the younger kids, we absolutely, like toddlers, we would avoid all screens because they need face-to-face interaction. Our young kids, meaning, 6 to 12, we would certainly want to keep that to about an hour per day, which again is a challenge when you think about a TV show or you think about playing a video game. It goes by real quick. But yep, keep that to about an hour. And then for teens, an hour to 2 would be the recommendation. But the less is more, honestly. The less we can have, the better. And adults, keeping it to about 2 hours per day as well. And so in that, there's also the complication of schoolwork and jobs where we're going to have access or needing access to email, work, PowerPoint, things like that. So I certainly, in those recommendations, understand that some of it might not be realistic if you have homework or work that you need to do that involves screens, but especially the entertainment side where we have choice. We would want to limit that as much as we possibly can. And not just the amount of time per se, but noticing how it affects your kids. Because there are some kids out there that really should have none, even though maybe their age bracket would say they could have an hour, but their behavior, their sleep, their irritability, you notice that they really function better with less. And so some of those things would also be important to consider when you talk about how much time should somebody have, looking at how it affects them personally. So
what stories do you have of parents or you as a provider that have adopted these guidelines, these boundaries? Have you seen improved wellness with more regulation around healthy technology use?
Absolutely. I personally, in my own life, and then with my clients, I've certainly seen that there's been a benefit to mental health to change our technology use. Almost without exception. I would say pretty much everybody has some improvement in their wellness when they regulate their technology use.
Yeah.
And so I have to keep that in my mind too, because it's a daily battle for us.
It is.
It's something that we're confronted with on a daily basis, in some ways, minute to minute. And so making good choices is not just affecting our minute right now, but our wellness more long term.
So you talked about personally as well. Do you have any stories of in your life, your family life, of how you guys adopt these healthy behaviors?
Yeah, we allow 30 minutes of TV time at our house, and then we have to turn it off. Except for Friday nights, we do Friday night movie nights at our house. But during the week, we do a half hour in the morning and sometimes a half hour in the afternoon, either or, sometimes both depending, but that keeps us at our hour and we try to be really strict about it. And sometimes it's a little less. If an episode of a show is done, like 20 minutes, it's like, okay, we're gonna turn it off before starting another one. And it certainly helps our house. And we've actually done times where we've had 2 months where we did no screens and there was a huge shift because we had a time where we kind of let it go by the wayside a little bit. Not that it was outrageous, but maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours, just because we weren't keeping close tabs on how much time. And we could see in our kids the behavior of irritability, more on edge, less compliance, some of those things. And we cut out all screens just to see. And there was a huge improvement in even a week's time.
Wow. Yeah, we don't realize how intentional we have to be because technology is just so integrated into our culture. So to make any type of cultural change in this area, it takes a lot of intentionality and hard work. So thank you for sharing that. We are super excited to be diving into this topic more and talking about technology use, screen time, how it's affecting our brain, our mental health, and what are some practical, healthy ways that we can adopt better guidelines and better boundaries when you come and sit down with us again at Dakota Medical Foundation on October 23rd. People can register for that training on Dakota Medical Foundation's website, social media. You'll find a link to register. So we're super excited to have you 5:30 October 23rd to be diving more into this topic. So thank you, Crystal, for being here today, sitting down and sharing with us just how you as a counselor are working in this area, especially in your practice, but also with the community with these presentations. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being here today. And we're super excited. Last thing before you go, I just want you to maybe share a quick thing of what people can expect if they come to this training.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to be a part of what's going to happen here on this presentation on the 23rd, talking about technology use and what, if you're able to come, we're just going to dive in and talk about what effects technology has on our brains, on our mental health, some of the trends we're seeing with mental health and technology use, and then some ideas of how you might create a lifestyle of wellness around technology. And that'll be broken down by age bracket so that you can choose strategies that are going to be pertinent to your current lifestyle. And so I'm really excited for it, and I'm really hoping to see you all there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Crystal.
Thanks so much for having me.
Wow, what a great conversation. I had no idea that kids under 3 should not have screen time at all. Or with not having screens in your day-to-day life, it can actually improve your well-being. Thank you guys so much for listening today. And just a reminder, you can register for this upcoming healthy technology training with Crystal on Dakota Medical Foundation's website and social media. We hope to see you on October 23rd at Dakota Medical Foundation. See you then.